Bill O'Reilly here. Welcome to the No Spin News, Thursday, February 3rd, 2022. Stand up for your country. Okay, so it's a hard news day today, and I'm going to be very precise. I may talk a little slower because we have very important things to tell you, and I don't want any confusion. All right, so we're going to begin with the talking points memo, violence in America. As you may know, President Biden came to New York City because in this city there is a violent crime upsurge, and police officers are getting gunned down, and it's horrible. Now, for 17 years under Giuliani and Bloomberg as mayor, violent crime was pretty much under control in this city of 8 million plus. But then the communist Bill Blasio took over 2 terms, if you can believe he was reelected, and the legislature in Albany, the state legislature in New York, went far, far left. The combination of the two attacked the police. De Blasio cut $1 billion from the police budget in New York City. $1 billion. So that let criminals commit crimes with impunity. And then the state legislature passed a law that said for most crimes there's no bail. No matter what your history, you could be a repeat offender, you could be out and have a warrant against you, you could resist arrest and punch a police officer, spit at that person. Doesn't matter when they're holding you. So a 5-year-old could figure this out. When you have lax law enforcement, when you take money away from the police agency, when you won't enforce the law, then violent crime goes up. And this is happening everywhere. 66 major cities run by progressive mayors are in the same situation. Enter Joe Biden, who doesn't know anything. And I don't say that with any due respect because he's either incapable or too lazy to understand what's happening. So today, the White House issues a comprehensive strategy. Whenever you hear the word comprehensive, you know it's BS. Total bull. Let me just read you one paragraph. Historical levels of funding for cities and states to put more cops on the beat. This is what the White House says. We're going to have historical levels of funding. So they're going to be refunded after being defunded. Okay? And invest in community violence prevention and intervention programs. That means basketball at night, social workers, that kind of thing. Stepped up federal law enforcement efforts against illegal gun traffickers. Okay, not a word about gun criminals. Not a word. No increased penalties, nothing. And of course, gun criminals are the problem. Now, do I want increased penalty for gun traffickers? Yes, I do. And I'd like to see what that increased penalty is going to be. Why don't you make all gun trafficking a federal crime, President Biden? If it crossed state lines now, but you should make all of it. Anybody is selling illegal guns, federal crime. Why don't you do that? Because Mr. Biden is not going to do anything. He's not going to do anything. Okay? He'll talk about it, and this is what he said today. Go.
Across the country, police departments report sharp increases in the number of ghost guns found at crime scenes. That's why today the department is launching an intensified national ghost gun enforcement initiative to determine and deter criminals from using those weapons to cover their tracks.
Gobbledygook. Do you know what a ghost gun is? I didn't even know because I'm not a gun aficionado. A ghost gun is where you can assemble a gun in your home. You can make a gun. Those are ghost guns because they're not sold anywhere. There's no serial number, anything like that. So apparently Biden's going to do something about ghost guns, but he's not. So why is he not? Because according to the American Gunfacts.org survey, there are now 400 million guns in the United States of America, 98% in private hands. As the crime rate goes up, So does the purchase of legal weapons because people are afraid. They want to defend themselves, and they are. So you have 400 million guns on the streets of America. You can't, no one could control that. If people want to put guns in the trunk of their car in Virginia and Tennessee and drive them on up to New York City, nobody's going to stop them because they're not going to know. So this is just a facade. It's a ruse. It's BS. And meantime, thousands and thousands of people are dying. Okay? And a lot of those are police. So the stats are unbelievable. In January, let me get you the cop stats here. In January, police shot in New York City. All right, let me think of it. Am I talking about? No, I'm talking national here. Okay. In January, police shot nationwide 30, up 67% from last year. 30 officers shot, 67%. That's from the National Fraternal Order of Police. So now it's open season on cops. And 2 were ambushed and murdered in New York City. That's why Biden had to come up here. Okay? So let's take a look at Heather McDonald's stats today in the Wall Street Journal. This is nationwide from the National Fraternal Order of Police. Okay? Ambush attacks on officers up 115% last year. 73 officers intentionally killed. All right? 4 nationwide, 4 black civilians killed by police who are unarmed. More than 10,000 African Americans murdered, as opposed to 4 unarmed killed by police. But the cops are the problem. In New York City, just this week, 8 people murdered, not cops. 15 shot. All right, so you can see what's happening. There's a violent trend in the USA, and Biden has got to deal with it because that's another nail in the proverbial Democratic coffin for the midterm. So Biden's got to run around, I'm going to try, I'm going to do it, I'm going to. He's not going to do anything. Just like the border. Not going to do anything. He can't do anything because the progressive DAs, district's attorneys, okay, are refusing to enforce the law. So unless Biden prosecutes them on a federal level, nothing's going to change. Here's an example of 2 loony DAs. Go.
Basically, we don't have a crisis of lawlessness. We don't have a crisis of crime. We don't have a crisis of violence. And that is a category that includes gun violence.
We are trying to dramatically change a system that has served no one, not the victims of crime, not those who are accused, and not the public.
It's ridiculous. Okay? So Krasner was in Philadelphia. The first guy, he was just reelected. And I'm on this team in cities like Chicago, Philadelphia, San Francisco, LA. If the voters are going to continue to put these people into office, I don't feel sorry for them. I don't want anybody to get hurt. I mean, Chicago is just the biggest example of racism in the world, is to allow thousands of African Americans to be gunned down year after year. And I mean, do anything about it. Biden going to do anything about it? No. He's not. Now, to be fair, I talked about this issue with Donald Trump extensively while he was president. And he did assign federal officers to Chicago. But it didn't do any good. Didn't do any good. Didn't do a whit of good. Because the only solution in Chicago is the National Guard. And Mr. Trump didn't deploy it. Because the state authorities would have, you can't do this, and it would have been a big constitutional thing. So he basically said, look, you want to keep electing these loons? That's what's going to happen to you. Okay. So when Biden comes and he says all these things, I don't know how many people believe it. So I don't know. It's just gibberish across the board. All right, ghost guns and comprehensive this, and I guess everybody knows it's BS. I hope. But think about these poor innocent children and elderly people and my poor minorities who can't get out. And every day they live in danger. And the police, think about the police. They're being attacked. And this is all because of the progressive movement, 100%. How can anybody keep voting for these people? Okay, so that's that. If you got any questions, bill@BillO'Reilly.com, bill@BillO'Reilly.com. And I will answer these questions. I will answer your mail in detail if you want. But I don't think there's two sides to this story. So on the border, we haven't done a lot of border reporting because it's the same. Everybody's in. There's been no, improvement. It's getting worse. And there's another thing with Biden. Biden doesn't even bother with the border anymore. Just ignores it because he knows that the media is not going to report on it. The media has to report on violent crime. See, local news across the country, local news, has to report on this. But on the border, nobody reporting on it. So Biden can ignore the border, doesn't even go there. But on crime, he's got to say something which is gibberish. Now, here's what I said this morning on the Morning Update, my radio syndication all across the country. Go. Here's something I never thought I'd see in America. The federal government sneaking illegal aliens onto planes in the middle of the night and flying mostly poor migrants to unsuspecting towns. The Biden administration is doing this. It is wrong on so many levels. It is against immigration law. It is an abuse of taxpayer dollars. It encourages more foreign nationals to break our laws. It is a sneaky, illegal policy that might even get President Biden impeached. If this coming November, voters put Republicans in the majority in Congress, don't be surprised if articles of impeachment are drawn up in the House against Mr. Biden, citing his refusal to enforce federal immigration law. Remember, he took an oath to uphold the laws of the United States. And now his administration, without the consent or knowledge of the citizens, are sneaking illegal aliens all over the place. If that's not a constitutional violation, nothing is. I don't think I have to embellish that. That's exactly what's happening. AMAC, the Association of Mature American Citizens, is the leading conservative advocacy and benefits organization in America. I am an AMAC member, and you should be too. AMAC gives you access to exclusive benefits, insightful takes on today's news, and a magazine full of uncensored content that you will not find anywhere else. Most importantly, AMAC is working tirelessly to preserve the freedoms enshrined and secured by our Constitution. AMAC has become one of the most impactful organizations in America because more than just talk, AMAC gets things done. They are pushing back against the efforts to defund our police, weaken the borders, and replace your freedom with government control. But they need your help. Stand with me and more than 2 million patriots and join AMAC today at amac.us. That's amac.us. amac.us, and tell them O'Reilly sent you. All right, in New York City, Sarah Palin in court. As you may know, she is suing the New York Times because the New York Times erroneously linked Palin's activities to the 2011 shooting attack in which Congresswoman Gabby Giffords was wounded in Tucson, Arizona. The offending paragraph in the New York Times said, quote, "Was this attack evidence of how vicious American politics have become? Probably. In 2011, when Jared Lee Loughner opened fire in a supermarket parking lot, grievously wounding Representative Gabby Giffords in killing 6 people, including a 9-year-old girl, the link to political incitement was clear. Before the shooting, Sarah Palin's Political Action Committee circulated a map of targeted electoral districts that put Ms. Giffords and 19 other Democrats under stylized crosshairs, unquote. It's not true. Okay, and the New York Times said, how many days later was this? I don't know. 2 days later, that it wasn't true. All right, and subsequently apologized because they knew they were going to get sued. So now Palin's lawyers have to prove 2 things: that it was false, that's easy, and that there was malice involved. And with all the terrible things the New York Times has said about Sarah Palin, they got a shot at it. Now, we don't know how much Palin's asking, but it's in millions, and we will follow that for you. Here's a karma story. Ready for it? Black Lives Matter in trouble. So, the attorneys general in California and Washington state, 2 uber liberal states, have said that Black Lives Matter is delinquent in financial disclosures for the year 2020. Okay? And they are demanding, those attorneys general, that BLM pony up and tell them how much money they took in. If you can believe this, in 2019, the IRS reports that BLM filed a tax return showing no revenue. Now, we know they got about $90 million, and we know the president of the organization had to quit because she bought $1 million homes with no discernible income. So, in response to all this, the Black Lives Matter Global Foundation has stopped taking donations. They've shut down their online fundraising. They're in trouble. They are in trouble. Now, will California and Washington State prosecute them? Probably not. Federal government could. But under Merrick Garland, the Attorney General, I think they will. But BLM knows it's in trouble. That's for sure. Okay. Gallup poll. And again, these polls, I give them to you because it's my job to give them to you. Don't take them to the bank, as the cliche goes. So they asked some social questions. The first one, our system of government and how well does it work? Totally satisfied with the U.S. system of government, 30%. Dissatisfied, 71%. I'm dissatisfied. I bet you are. I mean, when I see President Biden and what's happening there, when I see what's happening in my state, New York and Albany, I'm really dissatisfied. In Albany, they redrew congressional districts because it's all Democrats there. They have what they call a supermajority that make it impossible for Republicans to win state seats and national seats. My district here on the North Shore of Long Island, totally different now. Goes all the way up almost to Connecticut because the state legislature redrew the boundaries so more liberals would be in every district. That corrupt? Yeah, that's corrupt. They get away with it. Who's going to stop them? They have a supermajority in the legislature, and Hochul, the governor, will sign it. Nobody can stop them. So now New York is California. Republicans don't have a chance. Unbelievable. Second question from Gallup. How would you describe the moral and ethical climate in the USA? Satisfied, 20%. Dissatisfied, 78%. Sign of the times. And here's an interesting question. The opportunity for a person to get ahead by working hard. Satisfied, 60%. Dissatisfied, 39%. You can get ahead by working hard, which is why 15 to 20 illegal aliens are here. They, most of them, work hard. You may not like undocumented folks coming in, and I don't either. They should come in a legal way. But they work hard, generally speaking. You can get ahead in this country if you're honest and you work hard. So inflation is running so wild, I don't want to even depress you, okay? But you know how much you're paying for gas, how much you're paying for food. If your heating bills are coming in the middle of this winter, which is a pretty bad winter, okay, despite all the climate change, that you're paying, 30% more than you were last year, something like that, for vitals. And here's the clincher. Starbucks raising their prices, Starbucks. And they were already astronomical. And I have a Starbucks right down the street. But there's a Dunkin' Donut right across the street. Guess where I go? So Starbucks cites rising inflation, supply chain disruption, and increasing labor costs for the price increases. Okay? So they're going to sneak it up pretty substantially. A cappuccino costs $5.25 in New York City, and it's little. It's not like a giant cappuccino. It's little. If you want a grande, you got to pay 10. Now, it's a personal choice for me. I'm not a big coffee guy anyway. I buy Newman coffee at home here, and maybe I'll have 1 cup a day of Newman, all right? The reason I buy Newman coffee, Paul Newman, the late actor, is because all the profits go to charity. And it's good. It's all right. Fine. Okay? And it cost me like 30 cents for one of those little things. $5.25 for a cappuccino at Starbucks. Why don't you just set the money on fire? Give it to the poor people. Give it to charity. You'll rack up a $60, $70 a week coffee bill. What's the matter with you? Are you looking for your next investment? Bill O'Reilly here. There are 8 reasons to look at the NRIA Real Estate Development Fund. Stable monthly cash flow payouts with double-digit targeted bonus returns. They strategically develop in lower-risk, high-demand neighborhoods. Prime new construction is short on supply and high on demand. Diversification is safety from stock market risk. They have a short and long-term strategy for returns today and down the road. Specifically designed pandemic-hardened buildings. They are 15-year industry leaders with a proven track record. So if you've been sitting on the sidelines or want to diversify, please start your due diligence at nria.net or call 800-800-1414. That's easy, 800-800-1414.
An offer of securities is only made by the NRIA Private Placement Memorandum. Read it first. Past performance does not guarantee future results. NRIA is a real estate development firm. Learn more at nria.net.
Okay, final thought of the day is reported that $1 billion in legal betting wagers will be placed on the Super Bowl. $1 billion. And you got to figure it's 5 or 6 illegal, right, with Tony the bookie down the street. So, you got the Rams versus the Bengals. No one can predict that game. No one. The spread, as they say, is 4. So if you bet the Bengals, you get 4 points. The Rams have to win by more than 4. Okay. Burrow, the young quarterback for Cincinnati, is a little bit better than Stafford, the vet quarterback on the Rams. But that won't matter if the Bengal offensive line can't keep the very ferocious Ram line off Burrow. Cincinnati has better skilled players, although both have tremendous receivers. You can't call the game. So, if you want to bet $10 or $20 just to make it interesting with your pals or have a little pool, that's fine. But don't bet the ranch. Nobody can predict this game. I know so many people getting in trouble now with the legalized gambling because every 2 minutes, Jamie Foxx or somebody's telling you to bet. I mean, come on. Even the Manning brothers are doing it. You can really get hurt. Keep it low. Have some fun. I'm not, a prude, but no one can call this game. Thanks for watching the No Spin News. We'll see you on Monday, new column on Sunday. Have a good weekend. I'm sure I'm not the only one who's noticed everything is getting more expensive. We are in the biggest economic crisis since 2008, with a government that's printing trillions of dollars. Consumer prices at the highest we've seen in 30 years. Inflation certainly here. And if the government continues its out-of-control printing and spending, the dollar could continue its free fall and lose its coveted role as the world's reserve currency. While paper money will eventually have a shrinkage in value, there are real tangible things that will always maintain value. So how do you protect your money, your retirement, your savings? American Hartford Gold can show you how to hedge your hard-earned savings against inflation by helping you diversify a portion of your portfolio into physical gold and silver. All it takes to get started is a short phone call, and they'll have physical gold and silver delivered right to your door or put inside your IRA or 401k. Plus, tell them Bill O'Reilly sent you, and they'll give you up to $2,500 of free silver on your first order. So please don't wait. Call them now, 866-501-5201, 866-501-5201, or text BILL to 65532. Again, 866-501-5201, or text BILL to 65532.
Bill O'Reilly is back on TV and only on The First. No Spin News, every weeknight at 8 p.m. Eastern, only on The First.